I'm not going to start by bragging about how many ovens I've tested or rattling off a laundry list of specs. What I keep hearing from people who have just tried to save a buck on a cheap electric countertop pizza maker is that the first batch of crusts comes out soggy, the temperature drops the moment you open the door, and the whole thing feels like a glorified toaster that can't keep up with a real pizza night. That regret curve is steep, especially when you've already spent a weekend buying supplies, inviting friends, and still end up with a half-cooked pizza. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. The Baker's Pride 351 is a 57-inch deck-type oven that runs on natural gas and puts out 70,000 BTU. It's the kind of equipment you'd expect to see behind the counter of a neighborhood pizzeria, not tucked under a kitchen cabinet. The first question most of us ask is, does that level of commercial muscle make sense for a home or small business kitchen? Or am I just paying for a badge? The answer, like most things, lives in the details of how you'll actually use it. Let's talk setup first. This oven isn't a plug-and-play appliance. You need a dedicated gas line, proper venting, and a floor that can handle a 70,000 BTU heat source without warping. If you've got a garage or a commercial space already wired for gas, the installation is straightforward. Just hook it up, run the pressure test, and you're ready to fire it up. For a typical home kitchen, that means pulling a plumber and possibly upgrading your ventilation, which adds both cost and time. In my experience, the hidden trade-off here is the upfront investment in infrastructure versus the payoff of a true stone-baked crust. If you're already set up for a gas range, the extra work is minimal. If you're not, you might spend as much on the hookup as you did on the oven itself. Now, on to daily usability. The deck surface is 57 inches wide, which translates to roughly a 12-inch pizza with a comfortable margin on each side. That extra space is a real advantage when you're juggling multiple pies in a short service window. I've watched a few small-scale caterers run a lunch rush with this oven, and the way it holds temperature is impressive. Once you light the burners, the oven reaches a steady 500-600 F in about 10 minutes, and it holds that range even when you open the door to slide in a pizza. That consistency is something cheap electric units just can't mimic. They lose several degrees the moment the door opens, and you end up with uneven browning. The gas flame also gives you a quick heat up, so you're not waiting forever for a preheat cycle that can eat into your prep time. One practical strength that shows up in real kitchens is the way the stone deck retains heat. After a batch of pizzas, the deck stays hot enough to finish a second pizza without a full reheat. For a home chef who loves to bake a few pies in succession, that means less fiddling with the thermostat and more time eating. Another point is the flame-direct heat, which creates that classic leopard spot char you see on a Neapolitan crust. If you've ever tried to replicate that look on a countertop oven, you know it's a matter of luck at best. With the Baker's Pride, the char is reliable and repeatable. But there are a few practical weaknesses that matter once the novelty wears off. First, the size. At 57 inches wide, the oven is a wall hugger. You'll need at least a 6-foot wall clearance and enough floor space for the base and the necessary clearance for the vent hood. That eliminates a lot of smaller apartments and even some suburban kitchens where the countertop depth is already maxed out. Second, the gas consumption. Running at 70,000 BTU means you'll see a noticeable uptick in your utility bill if you're using it frequently. That isn't a deal breaker for a commercial operation, but a home user who only bakes pizza once a week might find the operating cost disproportionate to the occasional use. Lastly, the cleaning routine is a bit more involved than wiping down a non-stick tray. The stone deck accumulates ash and flour residue, and because it's a gas oven, you'll need to periodically check the burners for clogs. It's not a deal breaker, just a maintenance habit you have to adopt. So who should actually buy this? If you run a small pizza shop, a food truck, or a catering service that needs to turn out high-quality, stone-baked pies on a tight schedule, the Baker's Pride 351 is a solid fit. Its rapid heat-up, stable temperature, and generous deck space let you serve multiple customers without the bottleneck you'd face with a smaller electric unit. It also makes sense for serious home enthusiasts who have already installed a gas line, have a dedicated prep area, and plan to use the oven regularly, say, weekly pizza nights, bread baking, or even roasting vegetables at high heat. The oven's performance justifies the price.